It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know,
Não comi
absolutely.
nada. Eu vim treinar.
Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello, and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our UFC London review. Aspinall versus Blaydes. And Tom Ballum. So nice they did it twice, but this time did not deliver like the first time. That was my initial reaction watching it live on Saturday night. What is your overall feelings about how successful this UFC London card was?
Oh, Paddy the Baddy. Oh, Paddy the Baddy. Joe, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It hit some pretty high points, this card, for me, so I'm not gonna buy into this doom and gloom totally, but that was just some flashpoints. By and large, it was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, massively so. Massively so. I mean, none more so than the main event, which is what we'll get to now. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. Tom Aspinall throws a leg kick against Curtis Blaydes, takes a step back, and blows his knee out inside 15 seconds. What a 15 seconds it was, though. Hey, Tom, we really learnt a lot there.
Well, Joe, we called it on the pod. One of the two commentators on this pod did notice a blow from Blaydes leading to a finish. And Blaydes was claiming that as well. You know, he was emphasising the fact that he threw the hands.
Right, hold on. Hold on. So we made predictions last week, right? I put my prediction belt on the line, and I predicted an Aspinall knockout, and you've gone for a Blaydes knockout. Are you seriously going to claim this as a victory? Are you claiming these 2 points?
Well, Joe, I don't make the rules, all right? I play the game as it is, and that's 2 points I've picked up from this fight. We'll get to the rest of the fights.
Oh, my word.
Joe, it's out of my hands. There's really nothing I can do about it.
This is Mourinho-esque. This is dreadful. All right, fine. You can claim it. It's fine. You can claim this victory on this prediction. Right, let's go into the actual fight, though. Yeah, a bit of a nothing experience, I guess. It was real deflating moment considering the rest of the card as well. How that did not live up to how it should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. This was what everything was building up to. The crowd was reaching a kind of fever pitch. It was everything. It was everything. I think it was really feeling like it was going to deliver. Just on an emotional level. I feel that, not necessarily anything I saw in the fight. Although my feeling was, Joe, I did think Blaydes, man, he's being undersold here. Like Blaydes is, he's a serious competitor in that division with a monumental record, a big man. You could see that he was not outmatched in any kind of size comparison between the two. And I had this cheeky feeling the whole time that Blaydes was going to pull off an upset. Crazy that I'm saying it would have been an upset. That's how I felt it was set up.
Yeah, it was an odd sensation watching it, and yeah, I mean it's immensely disappointing we didn't see how this play out. I mean, these two in theory should be great dance partners in a way. You've got the traditional striker against wrestler combo, but they're a bit more evolved than that.
Well, Blaydes said it best in his post-fight victory speech. When he said, he got skills, I got skills, and we want to see whose skills are better.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough. It's pretty clear they're not going to see that, though, in their next fights. Blaydes has already set his sights set on the winner of the Tuivasa-Cyril Gane fight, which will be main eventing UFC Paris in September.
That makes sense, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, unless Tuivasa knocks Gane out brutally, at which point I'm saying give that man a title shot. But
we've still got to resolve the whole situation around Ngannou in the UFC. Is he coming back? I don't know if we've had any further developments on that.
Do we, or do we just go you know what, interim title shot Tuivasa against Miocic? We can't keep teasing people.
You don't say you can say Tuivasa, you can say title shot, but you can't say the other thing you said then, which was Stipe Miocic. He has to win a fight, Joe. What do you? You don't.
Wait, hold on. So then you would have Blaydes to Ivasa for a title shot, interim title shot.
I would make... So here's my perspective on the heavyweight division right now. I think you could have put match Blaydes up with Garn or Tuivasa, and he would have gone on to fight for the belt without this, whatever's just happened with Aspinall.
Yeah.
Now, he should fight the winner of that fight. That sounds great to me. Whether it's for a belt or not, I'm not particularly bothered.
Okay. Oh, fair enough then. Fair enough. I mean, I guess it depends on how they want to book the Jones-Stipe fight. If that's going to be for an interim title, if that's going to be, or just like a straight-up matchup between those two, title or not.
This remains to be seen, Joe. I mean, every heavyweight in the pack, when asked about John Jones, they say, please stop talking to me about that guy. I've never seen him at heavyweight before. I have no evidence that he is going to appear at heavyweight. And I think our approach here on Hold On, I'm Talking Brother, it should probably be the same, because is that really going to happen?
Yeah. He's teased a lot over 3 years now. Nearly 3 years. And it's tiring. It really is tiring. I mean, a man who has continually, as we said the other week, full of shit, pretty much. And then
mean, like
full of shit about
EPO, what was
full
that?
of shit about his personal life. Full of shit about his morals. And then we're going to believe him when it comes to the fight game. Yeah, exactly. So...
Body-enhancing steroids.
Exactly. So I guess maybe we should just ignore
alcohol.
Jones. Domestic violence.
Let's stop talking about John Jones. Let's not sell.
Let's talk about Curtis Blaydes. Let's talk about Curtis Blaydes. You're saying winner of Garn to Ivasa.
Well, I'm saying hopefully this fight will still be there in the future. Hopefully
it will be.
Aspinall will make a full recovery. Maybe you can play something up for me, Joe. I didn't actually see. Was it confirmed just to be dislocation, or is there some more serious damage?
No, nothing's clearly come out, but I think that was the initial reading of it, that it was a dislocation of sorts. Now, you're claiming there that that's going to be the power from Blaydes' leg dislocating.
Joe, the thickness on those thighs. They were so planted in the mat. Can you also confirm whether or not Aspinall took further injuries and having to maneuver himself out of the cage?
That was insane, wasn't it? Did you see that little wheelchair thing they stuck him into initially? As if he'd collapsed on the side of a mountain. He had to be airlifted out. That was appalling. That was absolutely awful.
And then you saw he basically in the end he had to ditch the chair and just kind of jump down the steps himself. It was just
terrifying.
Absolutely freakish. Like this.
I mean, I know he's a gigantic man, but Jesus Christ, you couldn't get a few people to help him onto that thing? That was awful.
I mean, are we to take it from this that the UFC is not expecting fighters to be injured and need to be taken out of the cage? Is this
particularly heavyweights?
What?
I guess from past experience that's nothing to really worry about. I mean, the only other time this popped in my head that I've seen a fighter being shown stretched out was when O'Malley lost to Vera. I don't know if you remember that. It was a very weird shot that they showed of him leaving. It's kind of the same thing here, where they don't normally show this of fighters unless it's for people that they seem to like, and it seems like Aspinall is someone that they do like.
Although in the post fight when the referee was announcing the Bruce Buffer and the referee were announcing the winner, they were very keen to get Aspinall out of the picture. They're just trying to find this little corner of the octagon where this spectacle wasn't in camera shot. I don't know what else there is to say about this. Commiserations to Aspinall is really unfortunate. Blaydes has to move on. Exactly. And
he'll be back. I'm positive about that.
And we'll be back to talk about him when he is. But I think now we have to look at the co-main, which was the middleweight matchup between Jack the Joker Hermansson and Chris Curtis. Joe, you're laughing. I know you wanted to skip straight to the fight after this, but we do have to follow the official championship.
No, I'm happy to follow the
championship format, Joe. So we both picked Chris Curtis to win this fight by decision, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because we didn't expect Jack Hermansson to turn into a kickboxer who was happy to just pick away at range and set the range and be patient. That was a very surprising performance from Hermansson. Didn't get frustrated. Didn't get, riled up by his opponent's antics or anything like that. Just stayed very measured and just pieced Curtis up from the outside. And Curtis got very frustrated by that, to the point where he was flipping him off in the middle of the cage. Flipped him off as he was... Did you see the video of him walking outside the cage afterwards? Both fingers up, screaming "fuck you," and it was very salty about his loss.
Joe,
Can you understand why?
No, I cannot understand why. That is a bad look. Chris Curtis, you're not a boy. You've been demoted.
He's definitely lost boy status. However, that evening and the following day, he was on Twitter apologising for his behaviour, and even took a picture with Hermansson to apologise and show that they'd squashed the beef.
How magnanimous of him. I think if you're going to give plaudits to somebody's character, it's Jack Hermansson, because he largely accepted those taunts, apart from a brief you're a bitch at the in the last 5 seconds, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
Or fuck you, bitch, was it?
Yeah, something along those. So you choose the variation, listener, that sounds most appealing.
And add a bit of Viking kind of Norse inflection on it, and then you've got it. I mean, Hermansson had every right to be dismissive of Curtis. I thought Hermansson put on a bit of a clinic. Really, he fought. Yeah. He fought exactly how he should have fought. I was actually sad to see him kind of apologising for his performance.
Yeah,
I found that bizarre.
What did he do wrong?
I mean,
he won the fight, clear decision win.
He absolutely worked Curtis in every element of the game. He landed some big shots, which was surprisingly didn't.
Lovely body kick,
lovely elbows,
that sort of left elbows as well. Yeah,
I don't know how Curtis didn't get cut by them. I was expecting to see the absolutely sliced up face once his guard came away from those elbows. So great showing from Hermansson. Curtis just couldn't really get near him, Joe. Like, I didn't realise, I have to say, I didn't realise Curtis doesn't throw kicks at all. Like
he sort of abandoned that, didn't he?
It was terrible. He couldn't cut the cage off. He couldn't close the distance. He couldn't get in the pocket. He couldn't offer the kicks that would kind of frame Hermansson in a way that he could close the distance against the cage and get in range.
No double jab. Like it was very rudimentary stuff. I mean, it did feel like that maybe Chris Curtis has fought a few times too many recently. Like maybe he needs a bit of time off. I understand why he's trying to take as many fights as he can. I mean, the promo package beforehand outlined his sort of journey and his frustrations, and like only getting to the UFC now when he's 35, when he could have been there before, and he wants to make the most of it. I get that, but sometimes you need to take a break. You know, add something new to your game. And hopefully from this fight he does. But let's go back to Hermansson here, who really did show big development in his game, that he's actually willing to stay on the feet and not worry too much about trying to strangle someone, and maybe just let that happen organically, rather than sort of chase it. This is what I want to see in the next fight. I want to see him fight someone who... Let's see if he can do it against someone who is going to push him a bit more than Curtis.
You want to see Jack Hermansson, the kickboxer?
Maybe. I don't know. What sort of matchup are you imagining here?
Well, I'm not sure that I took exactly the same thing away from the fight that you did, Joe. I mean, I feel like I've seen this Hermansson before, but I've only seen it for a round or two. And then I've seen, the inclination being to switch to the wrestling game and then show his kind of specialism on the mat. I feel like against, for example, Vettori, he had a good first round or so, but then he was kind of outmatched in the power, and obviously he didn't actually do much damage to Curtis. I think somebody with someone who had game planned a bit better for Hermansson would have been able to make Hermansson or test him more in this fight. It was a very poor display from Curtis. He just wasn't no ring craft, no ability to close the distance.
For sure.
And of course there are fighters in there, kickboxers in that division, who would make short work of that, especially when Hermansson doesn't seem to have the power to really make people ask questions. I mean, Curtis himself, he wasn't at any point worried by the damage of Hermansson. He just didn't know how to close the distance, which I just couldn't believe.
Yeah, particularly for someone so experienced.
Somebody who's marketed as a striker, a boxer, and should have great footwork and the ability to do that.
Yeah, he did freeze up a bit. He did freeze up. Anyway, Hermansson, can I throw out the matchup that I'm thinking?
Please do.
Andre Muniz.
You hate Jack Hermansson?
No, I just think that'd be an interesting matchup.
I think that's a bit rough, mate. If
Duplessis? What are you thinking? Is that what you're thinking?
I think that's the kind of guy who would bomb through that distance if he was going to try and kickbox. that sounds like a lesson for Curtis and what he should have done.
No. Oh, right. But what I'm saying is that, like, you could imagine Du Plessis just charging forward, throwing those shots. Hermansson could slip under that and take him down. You don't think? Like,
The raging bull. I
don't know. I could see it.
I mean, Du Plessis. I don't know. I haven't seen Du Plessis getting worked by a wrestler yet. That would be, I mean, I could be interested in that. I mean, Hermansson he's won the fight. He probably wants to look up the rankings. He's sat there at number 8 now in the middle.
But he's in a rough spot, though. He is in a rough spot where I feel like he should get a couple more wins against guys who are a bit lower or within his range, and then sort of work his way back up the rankings. Like, he doesn't need to rush into
Somehow Uriah Hall is still there, sitting at 12. Now, that's a bit of a bum note, maybe. You've also got Nasruddin Imamov, the man fighting out of France. He's been making some waves. Brad Tavares. I mean,
Tavares would be an interesting one. By the way, if he fought Tavares, I think he would have fought all of Sean Strickland's middleweight teammates. Like Strickland, Curtis, Tavares, and Puna Soriano, I think, are all the middleweights from that gym. So maybe work through that gym, like how Sakuraba was the Gracie hunter, Hermansson's the extreme couture hunter.
And then he can try and get the Strickland fight back, which was, of course, a very poor showing from Hermansson. I think the listeners can probably tell we're not super excited about that fight. Let's move on. Let's move on.
To Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett on Saturday night delivered massively. What a moment for Paddy Pimblett. Defeats Jordan Levitt by rear naked choke in the second round. Should we go straight to that finish and how he got there, or should we start with the first round where, yet again, some deficiencies of Pimblett were shown?
I think we have to start even before that, Joe. We already talked about the kind of pre-fight build-up between these two guys. Which really had the fight poised nicely for me, although I had picked your man Levitt to win.
By decision,
whereas you called it for a Paddy
knockout,
yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So that means that you do pick up 1 point from this fight, because it was a submission for Paddy in the end. Anyway, the walkout, Joe, they gave him the treatment. The lights were off, the crowd, the echo in the stadium. Good stuff.
It was major.
Oh,
it was major. It was major. That was, and I was thinking as well, when was the last time a fighter got that this early in their run? And it was Conor when he fought Holloway. He got the blackout, got the walkout that way, and that was in his second fight in the UFC. Only other ones I can think of as well were Michael Chandler and Anderson Silva, but they were in title fights in their second fight in the UFC. So, yeah, it felt major, and linking to that is Dana this week saying, I want to take Paddy to New York or Boston next for his next fight before then moving on to Vegas. So get ready for the Paddy show at MSG, crushing a can, brother. Like, he will be fighting someone easy at MSG. But let's go into the fight then. Well, the continuing thing of the walkout was that, like, the energy for Levitt's entrance was quite funny, of just the comical booing of him and, like, him sort of embracing it. Like, okay, he's clearly not that bothered by this atmosphere. He's aware of what's happening. And just, there was an electricity to Paddy coming out that is just, it really is missing from a lot of fighters in the UFC. He gets in there, round one happens, and how did you score round one? Because some people have said that maybe Pimblett won this round, but I had it quite clearly for Levitt.
Well, you'd have to explain to me what made it a clear Levitt round, Joe.
Well, it wasn't clear for me, but I felt strongest that it was a Levitt round. Just that he out-grappled him, that he just controlled him, and that the impact that Paddy landed would not have... didn't swing the balance in his favour enough for me, because it only came right at the end, and he had been pretty much controlled for all of that round. I think like unable to get him off, really.
I think you've summed it up well. I mean, obviously Levitt came in to go to work and try to shut down that hype, stop him from building any further, and went straight into the wrestling game, pushing Paddy up against the fence and then working through various positions. He was largely successful in that, in controlling Paddy, but he wasn't really able to get anything off at all. He didn't carry any threat in that department, Levitt.
Yeah.
And what I've got to say for Pimblett, the man has undeniable power.
Yeah.
He hits different, Joe. You can just see it. You can see that when he was able to get some shots off, that Levitt, he didn't like that at all. I don't know. Some fighters just really it's just different. And Pat,
they have a weight to them.
They
have just
ferocity,
something to
pop. Yeah, it's quite something. You watch these built shy guys in great shape, and they just don't hit right. Guys like Marvin Vettori. Well, Paul Craig also, or Marvin Vettori, I think is the standout example.
Yes, that's a great example.
I mean, he's got a hulking build, got a big square head, but nobody really recoils from his shots. I think Paddy's shots, they did tell, even though he didn't get many off.
And also feel like that power would be a lot more impressive as well if he had the technique to back it up, because his striking technique is awful.
Fuck that, Joe. Come on. You don't need that, mate. You need a hairstyle, you need the walkout, you need a couple of choice comments, and then you just swing for the fences.
Yeah, and then teabag him at the end.
In the end. So we got into the second, and Levitt tried to continue with that same game. This time Paddy was able to wrap up. What was the name of that position? It was like a four-point lock? I can't quite remember.
Yeah. It's because what he's got... how many points are basically out of your control now? Isn't it something? I don't know the correct terminology of it, but I understand the.
This is not the podcast for that, brother.
Yeah, go to Jack Slack if you want that shit. Right, but what was really interesting as well was when they were up against the fence and Paddy sort of like locked in this guillotine with like a sort of Darce choke sort of guillotine standing on the feet where it's getting a bit of a squeeze on. Obviously, it's not going to be a submission sort of threat from there.
But he made Levitt uncomfortable. He made Levitt adjust and left the space for that knee. That knee to the head.
Yeah, which he did not expect and did not enjoy.
No,
I was debating.
Paddy
took the back.
Sorry, Joe, just didn't mean to cut in there. So the knee that caused Levitt to drop to the mat. At the time, I really wasn't sure if that was like Paddy Levitt was like, oh my god, I can't take another one of them. I got to become a downed opponent. I've got to get knees to mat, or whether it really rocked him. What's your feeling on that?
Well, maybe he was like, I've got to go away from this threat.
Yeah, I don't want any more of that.
Or it's like a low single ankle pick sort of thing. Maybe he was trying to go to. At which point Paddy then flipped that round to a back take. Trap
the arm in the body triangle.
Trap the right arm of Levitt up against his torso in the body lock, at which point Levitt is a one-armed man in this fight.
Bisping declared it was over, and sure enough, mere 30 seconds later, Paddy did sink in that choke. I mean, Joe, once you are trapped in a body lock and you've only got one arm, that's a pretty rough position to be in. Because number one, you've got to try to get the body triangle off with your one arm.
Yeah.
All right. Number two, you've got to free the arm. And number three, you've got to escape the choke. And that is diminishing returns on any of those outlets. So,
and with a fighter who had 3 minutes to work to get that. If there was 30 seconds to go of the round, you might think like, oh, Levitt might be able to survive this. There was absolutely no way he was going to survive that. And Paddy knew he had time. And he was patient with it. Waited for that choke to get in there. And once it was in, my word, was that tight. And Levitt, he was kind of scratching his way to try and find something to lock onto. And he knew he was done and just
took the smart option. Don't need to be choked out in front of 20,000 fans and then teabagged. At least he was conscious when he was teabagged. And it was a bit of a half-hearted teabag from Pimblett, which I was fine with. It was all quite good-natured between the two of them at the end. I haven't heard from Levitt since then, Joe. Have you seen any? Has he made any comment?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, probably won't be showing his face for a little bit.
Yeah, back to the fight night at the Apex prelims for you, Mr. Levitt. Build yourself back up, son, because I think he gave a good account of himself this week. Like, in terms of like how he presented himself to the fans. I don't know. I think so.
He certainly did, but ultimately he was humbled by Paddy Pimblett and teabagged. Like they can't get away from he can't get away from what happened to him. He talked a big game. He was very dismissive.
I don't
dismissive of Paddy's skills. And Paddy, did damage to him on the feet. actually did out-grapple him effectively and then choked him out. So that was pretty, doesn't get much more, dominant than that,
Yeah.
So
should we talk about the post-fight promo from Paddy?
Well,
this felt like a real star-making moment in a way, or a humility sort of making moment for this guy. Cut the bullshit and just poured his heart out.
Yeah. I certainly shared the same sentiment as you. It was a real, not in the... Well, okay, let's talk about first what he said. He made a very emotional appeal for men to unburden themselves by sharing things that are weighing them down emotionally off the back of a close friend of his committing suicide just not long before the fight. And he... I
think 4 or 5 days before.
Yeah,
which is insane. And
it was a naked, emotional, open speech that certainly resonated with a lot of people, me included. I thought that was a very powerful moment, totally authentic. And, Paddy might be a bit crass and a bit uncomfortable at times.
Yes.
But people like someone they can relate to, someone who's genuine, and I certainly felt that was completely genuine.
Yeah, I think it fits his persona as well, is that he is very open and sincere when it comes to certain causes. This week he was talking about the cost of living price in the UK, people having to use food banks, this sort of thing. Like, he is very open about these things that affect people in his surroundings. And
well, Joe, what we have here is the making of a working man's hero.
Yeah,
he is. Well, we'll talk about his best friend, who had some choice remarks about the current establishment in the UK. Now, they come from the context of this is two fighters from Liverpool, a city that's traditionally been kind of ignored in terms of development and spending from the government, and something that politicians, they haven't gone out their way to win over the people of Liverpool. They've been quite dismissive of them, and Paddy is now taking on that cause. I think a lot of people are going to like that, Joe. I think that man, well, given the context of this fight and what he achieved with the burden that was weighing upon him, it was an absolute standout, incredible performance. One of those moments in the UFC that you just think, oh my God, really, it was one of those moments that you love the sport for, because just the story around it and the strength of character he showed to come out, still take on all the fans' acclaim, still G them up, even though he was clearly hurting from what had happened. That's so much pressure on his shoulders, and he absolutely delivered, Joe. So that's really... The man's a star. I expect to see a lot more Paddy Pimblett, and I, for one, am on the train. I'm in.
Yeah. I'm in. So, I think you've summed that up beautifully. Let's talk about the future for Paddy. What is next?
Crushing cans, baby. Crushing cans.
Well, is he... Are we going to go for the canniest cans possible? Or are we going to get like a can that's hasn't got too many dents on it? What are we looking for here? Because people were talking about matchups afterwards. Some people were just suggesting like a Matt Frivola, someone along those lines. Someone suggested Bobby Green, to which I said, "Oh no, Paddy should be avoiding a Bobby Green. Like I would not be taking on that sort of challenge just yet." What is the sort of I think you've got a name on
the tip of my tongue. Well, Joe, I don't know. First, we got to answer the question here: are we gonna try to push him on towards the rankings now? Is he ready for that?
No, I don't think so.
Even given the state of the lightweight rankings.
Wait, what do you mean? Given the state of it, you mean like what he can move through it quite easily, or do you mean like that there's a sitting target there, as in like a Tony Ferguson? Is that what we're going to suggest?
Well, this is my question. I mean, he obviously doesn't need any more brand building. He doesn't need a big name, but I'd still like to see him. I don't want to. It would be a little bit underwhelming if he had someone with no name recognition whatsoever. And I think Matt Frivola.
What about this? What about Michael Johnson?
Oh.
That's an interesting one.
But Johnson, he snuffed out some names. I mean, I'm now in the Dana White role where I want to make sure that Paddy's gonna get it done. I want someone for him to style on.
Clay Guida.
Oh my god. I mean, are we not thinking, the likes of Dan Hooker or Tony Ferguson? We're not thinking about that.
Oh, maybe
Dan Hooker's Hooker's a test.
Hooker is a test for sure. I mean, maybe I'm wrong with this, but after that fight, I was thinking like, who are they going to try and build Paddy up against? And I'm like, there was a realization in my head of like the light bulb going off. I'm like, oh, they're going to be building to a Conor fight, aren't they? Between Paddy and Conor's the fight they're going to build to.
Insane.
Like that. Do you not think so?
Oh, I mean, I didn't think it before the fight. I didn't consider that for a second. But suddenly, the rise is so relatable with that of Conor's. The positions in their careers, the personalities. Like Conor obviously being the fallen star, well and truly irredeemably so in the eyes of Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. I think you agree with that, Joe.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
despite the 20 pounds of muscle that he's somehow put on in the last year or so,
how does he do it?
How does he do it? Hasn't been tested by USADA this year. How does he do it? What if I put this out then to you for like the run? MSG in November faces, I don't know, Joe Selecki, right? Cuts a fire promo, and then February, March next year, main event versus Conor.
Oh my god, it would be insane, and we love these. This build up in the UFC. It's really tantalizing. A lot can happen between now and then.
Come on, we have to book the fight for.
It's
going to be November, Madison.
Joe, but I feel so protective now. Can I trust Paddy
against Hooker?
Like, look, you gave Conor McGregor, what was that fella called? Dennis Seaver, yeah. He blew him up. Maybe we should give him a canter crush. Maybe. Even Joe Selecki, that man, he's good. Selecki, he's no bum. Dennis Seaver was a bum, Joe. He was there to be crushed.
Grant Dawson. Oh no, wait, hold on. Grant Dawson's undefeated.
Come on, easy now. My beautiful
Anthony
boy.
Hernandez.
Oh, I do dislike that fella. So that could work. Yeah.
All right. Should we go for? Oh god, can you imagine how annoying the trash talk would be though? Oh, I don't know. I got a feeling the Michael Johnson fight in a way, but I don't know. Johnson was good in his last fight. What about Chris Gruitzemacher? What about him? 3-4 in the UFC. No, come on. Let's Anthony Hernandez. I think that's the fight to make. Anyway, we're rambling on here.
We are.
Let's talk about the light heavyweight fight, I should say. Nikita Krylov versus Alexander Gustafsson. We both picked Gustafsson by decision, and I think what we should both be picking now is Gustafsson to retire off of the back of this performance, Tom. Krylov knocks him down twice in a 1 minute 20 second fight, and the second knockdown was the most troubling for me, where Gustafsson had caught Krylov's kick, and Krylov's leg was caught between Gustafsson's legs, and on one leg with a sort of not even a full left hook, landed on Gustafsson, knocked him down, and then ground and pounded him out. This is that's a worrying sign, and I think Gustafsson needs to retire. Yeah,
I don't have anything to add to that, Joe. I mean, we did reference this possibility on the preview pod. It looks so obvious in hindsight, but we hoped that Gustafsson would have gone back to the gym, coming back to light heavyweight. We're talking about maybe the path is open for him to have one more run. Maybe that'll kind of give him the dedication he needs. But ultimately, he's gone. He's washed.
Chin's gone.
Chin's gone.
He's washed, and I think we asked the question, what Gustafsson's going to show up, and we hope for the best, because that's what we. But how old is he? He's 35, 37, 35.
He's not that old, Joe.
But he's been in some wars. And I think when you're getting knocked out like that, it's not necessarily that it's from Krylov, who I think is a good fighter, but it's just how he got dropped and how he got pounded out, and then what is left in the heavyweight division.
The first shot that Krylov threw, you could see it troubled Gustafsson. You know, like you could see already it buckled him. You know, and really from the minute that first shot landed, I was like, oh god,
yeah,
this is only going one way.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Krylov, what should he move on to?
Well, I mean, it is a signature win for Krylov. It is a big name, a big scalp. I have to say I'm still in that camp now. I asked these questions in the preview pod about Gustafsson and just how good he really was. Obviously, fights like this really do diminish the legacy, in my opinion. I'm not convinced he was ever that good anymore. The Teixeira performance, obviously, would be the best evidence to challenge what I'm saying.
Not the Cormier Jones fights, how competitive they were. You don't think that they...
But we had a second Jones Gustafsson fight.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, nonetheless, it is a big win for Krylov. The man has now augmented his package with this fantastic English that he was so proud to tout.
Oh, come on.
I mean, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But you know what? Fair play for him for doing his best. And to be honest, sometimes the best promos, they're in English by people where it's their second language and it's not very good. Sometimes they're the best promos. I want rematch is the one I'm sort of referencing from Piotr Jan. Krylov then. I mean, what are we thinking? Like the winner of the Jamahal Hill Thiago Santos fight, maybe? Well,
you've also got the winner of a light heavyweight fight that was earlier on this card. We're going to get to that when we talk about Volkan Oezdemir and his matchup with Paul Craig. No reason why that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's actually, that sounds like a good show. Molly McCann was back, and she defeated Hannah Goldie. My first notes for this fight, jacked, all in capital letters. Goldie with the Muhammad Usman-esque body. It was exactly my notes here. Bro, the size of this woman, she was incredible. Just a terrible fighter, though. That's the problem.
That's the unfortunate aspect. She does have the Muhammad Usman syndrome, Joe, it would seem. But we're going to find that out when he comes in to the UFC.
He's fighting in 2 weeks' time.
Well,
co-main event.
The precedent has been set by Hannah Goldie in this fight, who was pretty woeful. I'm not going to dwell on Hannah Goldie. I'm told that she was a worthy competitor by you in the preview pod. I will accept that and move on for it. I do note that she has launched an OnlyFans off the back of this showing, so hopefully she got what she wants out of the fight. But Molly McCann, Joe... Oh my word. So big overhand right that sent Goldie back, kind of flailing back towards the cage. Whilst Goldie is trapped there up against the cage, here it comes. It's only a spinning back elbow. Woo!
Lands it. Drops her. Ground and pound. That's all she wrote, brother.
Good. I mean, fantastic. Really, back to back spinning back elbows.
It was incredible. I mean, it's almost like it was a bit of a piss take of the division, let's be honest. If you're able to do that twice, 2 fights in a row, that says a lot about the division.
But credit to McCann, because, you know, of course, when you land a shot like that, you think, right, I've unlocked it. I found the path to victory. And
I've completed MMA.
And she threw one spinning back elbow. It was at the right time when Goldie was against the cage.
Yeah,
you know, it wasn't out in the open. It wasn't unnecessary spinning shit. It was the great move. And she picked it at the right time. So I really think this was a huge showing for her. Her star has ascended, not just off the back of Paddy, but in her own right now with these 2 finishes this year. Who did she fight next, Joe?
I'm going to say it. Valentina Shevchenko. That's the fight to make.
Wow.
Let's stop fucking around. Just get her. Like, she's on fire at the moment. You know, she's got, like, the crowd love her for some reason. I don't particularly find her that charming of a personality, even though I do agree with her post-fight promo.
Fuck the Tories.
Oh, fuck the Tories indeed. Listen, if Paddy can convince men to talk about their mental health, and if Molly McCann can get people to cheer or shout, fuck the Tories, then they're all right in my book, to some degree. But what are we doing here? This is a terrible division. Like, just give her the title shot. Like, really, come on, let's just do it. Madison Square Garden. She's in the co-main event against Valentina Shevchenko. You can see it, can't you? Paddy goes out there before. He knocks out Clay Guida. He cuts a fire promo just before Molly McCann comes out. Gets the crowd fired up. She comes out. The crowd are on their feet. And then Shevchenko cruises to a 5-round decision. Like, this is just... This shit writes itself.
Am I mistaken, or is Molly McCann currently unranked?
She is indeed. But, you know, Alex Pereira was unranked before he gets his title shot with Adesanya, and... Let's just do the same thing here.
Joe, you get no contest from me. You are the resident specialist for the women's flyweight division. If you say that's the fight to make, that's the fight to make.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, Miranda Maverick was calling her out, and I think Maverick's a good fighter.
What about Macy Barber? She's supposed to be such a good striker.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. I think that could potentially be a bit of a... could derail Barber. I think also maybe the UFC are maybe lining up the woman I picked to defeat Shevchenko, Manon Fiorot. She's got a fight in September against Caitlin Chukagian. So maybe they might go down the Fiorot route. But personally, I would just say, fuck it. Give it to Meatball Molly McCann. What's the worst that could happen?
All right, well, that's...
If she wins, you got a British champion. Rematch at the O2 in March. And if she loses, who cares?
Joe's Women's Flyweight Fiesta. We're going to find a name for this segment of the pod, but it's...
Yeah, I'll get some music going, you know, the sort of... You can imagine it.
Right, Joe.
Anyway.
Last fight on the main card was a light heavyweight matchup between Volkan Oezdemir and Paul Craig. We both
picked Paul Craig by submission, which was far from happening in this fight. Can we just talk about... They were both walked out. Craig has got this intensity to him. And they cut to Volkan Oezdemir, and Michael Bisping says on commentary, Oezdemir looks worried here, to which I said, no, he always looks like that. Like, what are you talking about? He always has this sort of blank, I've just seen a war crime committed and I want to try and forget about it look on his face. I don't know what they're seeing there. And we proceeded to watch 15 minutes of Paul Craig pulling guard, Oezdemir going nowhere near, and Özdemir's corner yelling at him, telling him not to go near him. So... bit of a weird fight, I thought.
A totally bizarre fight, and only made more bizarre by the commentary itself. I mean, you mentioned there that straight away they were saying that Oezdemir looked a bit shook, a bit worried. As you say, that is the patented wide-eyed stare of Oezdemir. And then they continued to tell us throughout the fight that Paul Craig was quite successful in throwing up these submission attempts when he kept pulling guard. It was a good game plan, and that he was even doing well in the striking in the second round, is what we heard from the commentary. So, if to the uninitiated, going into the decision, it was only in the third round they started to express some doubts about Paul Craig just lying on his back and praying for Oezdemir to come down to meet him there.
Yeah.
Totally. I was way off base, the commentary, wasn't it, Joe?
It was awful. It was really, really awful. If Paul Craig was not a British fighter, do you think Bisping would have been saying that about his performance?
No.
There we go. I think that sums it up. Paul Craig, for the way he looks and the way he is before a fight, the fact that he has no punching power is really gutting, because he would be such a good fighter if he just had a bit more zip on his punches. And when they were exchanging on the feet, Oezdemir was getting the better of him, but I felt like maybe Craig could have gotten to something in there. He could have created those clinch exchanges. He just didn't want to do that. He had this idea of, I've got him clinched here, I'm going to pull him down. Bro, learn to fucking trip someone. Learn to go down to a level change from the clinch. God almighty, it was so frustrating.
It was so frustrating that I got to the point where I was like, well, he must be covering up for something. He must be totally washed, or he must be, washed, sorry.
He must be injured.
Yeah, injured or totally gassed. Because it was just absolutely bizarre. He did have some moments, some reasonable moments on the feet. He was trading with Oezdemir, as I say, particularly for stretches. I think it was in the second round. He was throwing up head kicks, and he was showing quite a diverse arsenal. He wasn't really eating that many shots. I didn't think it was a particularly stellar showing from Oezdemir. He wasn't really able to hit him, which was a bit bizarre. And Craig just seemed to have no confidence in his ability to continue striking or work into grappling positions from a strike, off the back of a strike. Instead, he just wanted to pull guard. And I don't know. Ozdemir, he, I guess, intelligently decided not to exchange in that game. But there were moments, I know this is Paul Craig's style, but I actually thought Ozdemir could just go down into that guard and smash him out, to be honest.
Particularly in the second and third round, because he looked knackered.
He did look knackered, and I tell you what, he doesn't look like he can take a shot. He looked pretty wobbly, even with glancing blows that Vettori...
third round, I thought, third round, I remember Ozdemir landed I think it was a 1-2, just a simple 1-2 that caught Craig, and Craig looked like almost out of it, basically. Yeah, it was a strange performance from Paul Craig, and really he fucked it, because if he had won this fight, even a decision, he would have been in prime contender spot. And really, this was kind of the position Emmett was in a month ago against Calvin Kattar. You lose this fight, you're never getting a title shot, and Paul Craig fucked it, and he's never going to get a title shot now. Like, he's not going to get back up there.
It's hard to see it, Joe, especially with such huge limitations in his game. I don't know. Perhaps there was something we don't know about affecting him. But yeah, the momentum has well and truly stalled after a performance like that. Very disappointing for Paul Craig. I can't say I'm particularly inspired to make matchups for either of these guys off the back of this.
Ozdemir, Krylov?
Yeah, that's what we were looking at going back. And, after this fight, you'd expect Ozdemir to take Paul's spot at number 8. He's number 9 right now. Krylov is number 11. Perhaps we'll get a nudge up as well. So I think that's a fight that makes sense. 2 top 10 fighters. Nikita Krylov and Volkan Ozdemir.
I'm happy Ozdemir got the win.
Paul Craig, meanwhile, he has to fight down now, surely.
Gustafsson down, or are we talking
All right, here's an interesting question. Well, you just mentioned that. I'm assuming Gustafsson does retire after that performance, but if he doesn't, who'd you pick? Gustafsson, Craig. That sounds like a bizarre fight.
I mean, if he gets knocked out by Craig, then it's like, bro, don't go out when it's a windy day. Like, you're going to be in trouble.
Just
what about
the notion of that, Joe, is too much for me.
What about for Craig, by the way? What about Dustin Jacoby for Craig's next fight?
Yeah. Jacoby on the come up, strong kickboxer. I think he'd be wise enough not to follow Craig down. I don't know. Like, you see that showing from Craig, and you think, like, who the hell can he beat? Like,
yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It was that bad.
It does, and it makes you question his wins, like his recent wins, where it's just like, wait, did he win that through his ability or because the other guy fucked up? If they literally just stand up, bro, like if they just stood up, would they have been all right? And it's like, and also I love that meme that someone posted, the meme the other day of like, it was like jiu-jitsu guys in a street fight. And it's like some guy lying on his back with like, and he's just like, come down in my guard, bro, and see what I do to you. And it's just like, it's just like, yeah, I can see that not working. So, bit of an odd one. If Craig can add something to his game, then maybe he might have a chance of making a run up the rankings again. But
Joe, I'm bummed out. I don't want to talk about this fight anymore.
All right then.
It was a real low note on the card, and I think that draws us into the card itself. You really didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it. I mean, there was one fight on the prelims that I was particularly impressed by. Sadly, it wasn't involving our boy Jai Herbert, who edged out a decision victory over some Jabron. He got out wrestled by Jai Herbert. There's something bad's going on here. But yeah, I think the prelims set us up for a bit of a disappointing evening of fights.
So on the prelims there, we had, 8 fights overall? 8 fights overall, yeah. I believe it was, and 7 of those went to decision. Most of them from lay and pray style wrestling or control time. I'd like to revisit the fight that I picked here going into the card as being the one to watch. That was Mohamed Mokaev fighting Charles Johnson, a newcomer to the UFC flyweight division. Well, Joe.
Yeah. Well, what do we say?
Where do I start with that one? Well, I mean, basically we just saw the same exchange again and again and again for 15 minutes, which was Makhachev taking the back position whilst they were standing and locking up one of Makhachev's legs.
Against the fence.
Against the fence, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Makhachev locking up Johnson's leg.
Yeah, locking up one of his legs and holding his back. Not really doing a whole lot to improve that position. Occasionally being successful with a trip or a takedown, to which Charles Johnson would stand straight back up. They would exchange a little bit and find themselves in the same position. So it was just all control time for Makhachev. A lot of people have been very down on Makhachev after this performance. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Same.
He came out there, he absolutely exploded. It was rocket fuel for the first minute or so. Fortunately, Charles Johnson, he wasn't going to be taken out that easily. The guy looks pretty good to me. I was pretty encouraged, pretty happy to welcome that guy to the UFC flyweight mix-up. I don't know, Joe. How much do you want to criticise Makhachev for this performance? He won the fight comfortably.
I mean, he's very young. He's very young. He doesn't like, if he has a fight like this where he's got a game plan and he wants to try and like out wrestle this guy and take him down and do his work on the ground, that's fine. And if he's feeling like, I'm not getting to what I want, but I'm still winning the fight, I'm going to just keep going with this and hopefully something will happen with that. I get it. I just think like when they did exchange for that first minute, that Makhachev got something there, and it's like maybe he just didn't want to risk it and felt like that if this was the best thing for him to do. Well,
the one question I had with regards to that is that he really did explode for at least the first minute in that first round. He really tried to work Johnson. And when he could see Johnson wasn't going to go that easily, I think he started to get a bit more mindful of conserving his energy. I'm sure he felt that lactic acid in those muscles.
Maybe that adrenaline dump sort of thing.
100%. The crowd had quieted down by that point. And yeah, I wouldn't say that he was just trying to be conservative. He didn't want to take any risks. I think he just went to positions that he's used to being more effective than they were in this fight. So I choose to credit Johnson's defense, and I look forward to seeing him fight again. Ultimately, it was a unanimous decision victory. All 3 rounds went to Makhachev. I don't think you'd disagree with that. And no. I'm ready to just keep pushing him up through the rankings. Let's go.
Damn. What do you think then for Makhachev? Are you thinking...
Well, the man wants to be champ in a year, Joe, so he's got to get to work. Pick any name.
He says he wants to fight. He wants to fight on UFC 280. So
I will allow that.
What about this? What about Matt Schnell?
Well, that's a man with some name recognition now after his last showing over Sumideji, which we went in some detail over on a previous pod. I'm down for it, Joe. You pick any name in there, and I want to see it. Any name in the top 15. I think Makhachev is legit. This story is not over.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the prelim fight that I picked. Nathaniel Wood gets a decision win over Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa doing his best impression of Diego Sanchez from 2006. It was a bit of an odd one from Wood, I felt like, because he was clearly a lot better than Rosa, getting the better of him, knocked him over a few times. Some lovely feinting from Wood in this, but I felt like, again, like the Makhachev fight, got to the end of the second round. All right, I'll just cruise through this third one. I can just do this over and over again until I get the decision win in a new division. I get it, but I would like to see Wood maybe just kick on a little bit more in his fights in this weight class. And I'm intrigued to see what he does next, because I thought this was a very comprehensive win over Rosa. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, another fighter going up a division who suddenly does look a whole lot healthier. I think there's a lot of room for that in the UFC. I don't think these guys do really need to cut down to the smallest size humanly possible and then try to rehydrate back up to something resembling a normal weight. This was another guy who looked improved at featherweight. Yeah, bring it on. Nathaniel Wood, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really enjoyed his performance there. But yeah, overall, I thought this card was just not very good, was it? It's just let's be real. No, of course, no. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, but it was a huge moment for Paddy Pimblett. And Joe, like if I asked you, Conor McGregor, when he dusted off Seaver, do you know what card that was on? UFC Boston, and I don't remember what else was on that card.
Right, and I think that's how we'll reflect on this one too.
Fair enough. Let's wrap this up then. Tom, you're the champ. You steal the belt from me on a technicality. Are you actually going to claim the belt here, or are you going to be like, do the honourable thing and be like, I can't claim the title from this?
Well, I guess we have the situation where, like, you know, Oliveira, he's not the champ anymore officially, but perhaps in the fans' eyes he still is.
Yes.
We'll have to hear from the listeners on that one. So, I mean, I am the champ. There's nothing I can do about that.
Fine. You can be the champion for a few days. I'll claim it back this weekend when we do our predictions for the UFC 277.
Yeah, which we'll be back for tomorrow. Won't be covering that on this episode because it is, of course, a main numbered event. So we're going to give it the proper treatment. Brings us to quite a short episode here, Joe. Any other little things that caught your eye?
Oh, should we talk about Dana White's comments for two major announcements this week? There were two big fight announcements this past week. You had the Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan fight set up, and then the Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz fight. Should I give you the ones for the Yan O'Malley fight first?
Sure.
Okay, he said this. We were in matchmaking and Sean Shelby actually came up with that fight. Sean Shelby wanted that fight. I said, are you out of your mind? You don't make that fight now. He told me why he'd make it and O'Malley's ready. You know, O'Malley's about to be 28 years old in October in his absolute prime right now and hits like a truck. He ended up selling me on it, and more importantly, both guys wanted it. And even more important than that, when we announced it, everybody went crazy and loves it. And even more important than that, it should be fucking a really good fight. Excuse my my slip up there. Tom, we were kind of excited for this fight, but also a bit like, Jesus Christ, are you actually going to do this now? Like, I don't know if we went totally as crazy as everyone else.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a real look behind the curtain. So I appreciate that insight from Dana, to be honest. I think that summarises our thoughts very much. I'm looking forward to the fight, Joe. I would say I'm crazy about that. That sounds like a lot of fun. You don't want to see Sean O'Malley fight Petr Yan? I
mean, I do. I absolutely do. Particularly on that card as well, which is going to be on UK time for us as well. That's going to be something that will be make it even more appealing. And that's a banging card, UFC 280. Now, should we talk about these comments about the Diaz Khamzat fight?
Oh, I feel like I'm not going to agree with him here, but let's go.
All right. Count the lies in this one. Okay. So Dana had this to say. I care about Nate a lot. We were talking... We were talking about it being his last fight, and I said, listen, kid, you think about the wars that Nate Diaz has put on and the incredible fights and the big fights he's done with us. Go do whatever you want to do, man. But getting a fight done with him isn't as easy as it seems. Everybody's like, well, why don't you make a fight? Well, he asked for Francis Ngannou. I could go on forever, but I won't. We got the Khamzat fight done. That's the fight he wanted. I counted at least 4 there. So, I mean, what stood out for you more? I care about Nate a lot, or he asked for Francis Ngannou?
I mean, we know that Nate, he likes to enjoy a smoke from time to time. I think the times when he enjoys smoking probably do coincide with the times he reaches out to Dana White on social media. I wouldn't rule that one out. Yeah, the thing that I find easiest to rule out is that he cares deeply for Nate Diaz's well-being, because you cannot match him up with Khamzat and say that those two things cannot exist in the same universe.
Yeah, a lot of fighters have come out and said as much. Leon Edwards said it this week as well, where said, well, I'm pulling for Nate to win, and he said I think it's a bit fucked up that they're giving him this fight, kind of ignoring the fact that Leon Edwards was booked against Nate in a sort of like, well, just go squash this guy sort of fight, which he did,
but proceeded to get rocked with a few seconds left.
Yeah,
that's a warning for Khamzat there, Joe.
That is indeed a warning for him. I mean, there were so many other fights you could have made, and yet they're wasting our time with this.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it at all.
No. Anyway, listeners, thank you for joining us. We will be back tomorrow to talk about UFC 277. Tom, you're the champ. Congratulations. I do not hold it against you whatsoever. And Tom Aspinall, I wish you all the best. Thank you for costing me my belt. Let's wrap it up. Tom, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, and see you tomorrow for the next card.
I did, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. Goodbye.
Up on Friday morning at 4 a.m. to a message that one of my friends back home had killed himself. This was 5 hours before me weigh-in. So Ricky, lad, that's for you. But there's a stigma in this world that men can't talk. Listen, if you're a man and you've got weight on your shoulders and you think the only way you can solve it is by killing yourself, please speak to someone. Speak to anyone. People would rather, I know I'd rather me mate cry on my shoulder than go to his funeral next week. So please, let's get rid of this stigma and men start talking.